Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, my peoples. This is your boy Dre. I'm here with the beautiful Matatan,
Jessica.
and welcome to Cafecito and Real Estate. Today, we have a very important topic to talk about. We're going to be talking about financial planning, financial advising, tax, everything, the good stuff, self employed, everything. We have
The
the
one and
one and only,
only.
the man, the myth, the legend,
Oh man,
Lou Sorrentino.
The social media star.
thank you, Soriano. But I like
Soriano,
this.
I apologize.
No, it's all good. I like Sorrentino maybe a little better. I might have to change my
Lou
name. It's like
Sorrentino.
Quentin
Everybody knows him by
Tarantino.
Lou Soriano.
If he
Lou
does-
Soriano. Yes,
If he
Yeah.
does,
I'll give
Yes.
him the credit. That
Credit.
might be my new moniker, though. I like it. I'm gonna run with it.
Well,
There we go.
everybody know Lou already. I'm sure everybody knows him. But Lou, for the people that don't know you, please
Yes,
introduce yourself.
Which I'm sure there are many. You guys give me way too much credit. But yeah, I'm Lou Soriano. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm also an enrolled agent. Have an accounting practice, financial planning practice, and I've been working with realtors for the better half of 25 years.
Wow, 25
Wow.
years. It's been that.
You forget how old I am.
You don't look old. Stop
I
saying
know,
that.
I know.
You're young.
Young at heart, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't mind.
And in mind. No,
Yeah.
that's very important.
Right,
you
Actually,
have
that's
to.
truer than you know.
So
Yep.
25 years. How did you come to, financial?
My uncle.
Your uncle?
Yep. I have an uncle Victor. Shout out Victor Lopez.
Shout out
Uncle
Victor.
Theo Victor Lopez.
Ooh, Theo.
Yeah. So I was working, believe it or not, as a biomedical engineer at the time, my early 20s. I was in
Wow.
engineering. And I started buying stocks and mutual funds. He is and was and still is an accountant, financial planner as well. And he was doing my taxes. So when I showed him, my forms, W-2s, 1099s, he saw I was investing, and he suggested that I get licensed. Once I got licensed, I just took the ball and ran with it. Then
Right.
I went and got certified and started helping friends and family, and then it turned into a business. So
Here you
that's
are.
how it
And then
started.
25
years
later.
lit that
Yeah.
spark that created the fire.
Shout
in me
out
for that.
Theo Victor.
Yes,
you
we
did a
all
big
need
one.
an Uncle
We all
Victor
need
in
a
our
We
Theo
all
like that.
needed Lou. You knew that we needed him here today, so thank you.
Yes, and I
Thank
try
you
to
for-
be that for the young people now.
Thank
Yeah.
you for your time, though. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. No, thanks
thank
for
you
having me.
for
I
being
appreciate
here.
Uh-huh.
Lou always is out there educating people. That's how I met you through Signature, our company.
Yep.
You go out there and educate ourselves as agents
Yep.
because we make a lot of mistakes.
Yes, you do.
I'm
But
being
it's-
honest.
Yeah, but it's not your fault. You know why? Some of the things that you're up against are not taught in school, not in high school, not in college. Even if you went to school for finance or, business, they don't teach you some of the
Right.
things that you need to know in the real world, especially like you guys, compensated as a 1099 independent contractor.
Yeah.
You learn
Yeah.
the hard way. Like
We do.
when you have to pay your taxes, you're like,
And then you're
"Oh,
like,
shit, I was supposed to
where
do
does
what
that-
now?"
Yeah. I'm sorry, Lou. Can you help me out?
And that's where I come to the rescue most times. Yeah.
Putting out fires.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How does that feel? It must feel great though, being able to put out fires. Like,
Yeah, sometimes. I'll be very honest with you. So the past 4 years, working with a lot of younger people, I have been putting out a lot of fires, but I think it's a reciprocal relationship.
Right.
In other words, yeah, I'll help you get this straightened out. That first year, second year, I'm educating, trying to get you set on the right path. But
Right.
then you have to take some responsibility yourself
Of course.
and actually implement what you've learned, implement some of the planning that we've talked about so you're not in that situation year after year. And I find that's hard for some people to do. And honestly, I give them a tiny little pass only because your business is very tough
Right.
because, you don't know when your next deal is going to be.
Right.
And it's hard to say, hey, okay, I'm going to pay X
X
amount in
amount.
quarterly taxes. Meanwhile, you don't know,
How much,
especially
yeah.
in the beginning of the year, your business is hard, right?
Right.
First quarter.
So now that you mentioned that sometimes you educate them year after year,
Uh-huh.
and they still sometimes make the same mistake because
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to structure that, right? What would you say is the number one mistake they come back even after you educate them?
Good question. So the number one thing is not paying taxes on a quarterly basis. So paying a little bit every 3 months so that you're not in that situation year after year. And keeping track of your expenses, like having a separate bank account just for your
That's a big one.
business, so you could track expenses. Your income, we all know what our income is. We don't have to track income.
Right.
We get a 1099 at the end of the year. It shows you exactly what you made, right? In your case, Signature does that for you. They'll tell
Right.
you what your share was for the year. But keeping track of expenses, I find that's probably number one. And then number two is not paying quarterly. So
Right.
those are the two. That's the 1-2 punch, as they say.
If you're gonna take anything from this,
Do those two things and you'll be all right.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Lou, so you're a CFP, right?
Yes.
CFP and an EA.
Yes.
What is
I know. It's like
What
alphabet
services
soup.
do you provide?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So it's like alphabet soup. You'll see a lot of people in the financial services industry, and they have all these letters after their name: CPA, CFP, EA. You name it. There's a bunch of letters like that. So CFP is a certified financial planner, and as a financial planner, we are kind of trained on a multidisciplinary approach towards helping our clients. So we want to help you with your investments, your income taxes, your insurance, your estate taxes. So it's like a holistic approach, right? So that's what CFP kind of trains us to do, not just. So if you work with and financial advisor is kind of a broad term that could mean anything,
Right.
But sometimes financial advisors, they just license in investments. So they have no idea what impact that investment might have on your taxes or your estate planning or other things. So we kind of dig a little deeper and take a fiduciary role, it's called. So that's what a CFP does. It's a pretty hard designation to get. So I've been a CFP for over 20 years, and EA is a designation by the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, and it's a tax preparation designation. So it's very similar to a CPA, with the exception of CPAs can do a lot of things too, just like I described with CFPs. They could help with auditing, bookkeeping,
Right.
keeping your balance sheets for businesses, and tax preparation. So they do a bunch of things on the accounting side. EA is just tax preparation.
Got it. Over the years, you wear many hats. You were a realtor once.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned that you were a biomedical engineer,
Yes.
graffiti artist, I heard.
Yeah. Oh, how do you know that? Whoa, she's done her homework on me. Yeah.
So tell me,
Okay.
how did did you always know that you were going to end up here today? I
No.
know Victor was the one that,
Yeah.
get you started, but,
Mm-hmm.
high school, let's say, when you
I
were
didn't know
thinking
what I was
about,
going to do.
right?
So you're right. I've had many hats over the years. Honestly, and no BS, the best job I have is being a dad and a husband. I know that sounds corny, but that
No, it's
actually
not.
does mean
Yeah.
a lot to me. You
I'm
met
a
my
mom.
wife, and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what it's like. You're
Yeah.
a mom. It's serious business. So out of all the things that people call me, dad is the one I'm most proud of. Number one. Two, how did I get involved in high school? I was not a good student. To your point, I was raised in Brooklyn, then Brentwood. Now live
Shout
in
out to
Smithtown.
Brooklyn and Brentwood and
Shout out
Smithtown.
Brooklyn and Brentwood. And oddly enough, I'm living in Smithtown like over almost 30 years. I've lived in Smithtown longer than I've lived anywhere in my life. But when people ask me where I'm from, I always say Brooklyn and Brentwood.
Brooklyn.
Because that's who made me. I lived in Red Hook and Carroll Gardens. So, but that was back in, the 70s and early 80s.
70s?
Now it's a very desirable place to live. Carroll Gardens always been desirable. Red Hook, not so much, but now it is. And then in high school, I wasn't the best student at all, to say the least. I was not a good student. But my family was always in the military. In Brentwood, if you guys are familiar, they had ROTC program. They had Air Force ROTC, which is a military program. So I took that as an elective, and that kind of got me down the road of maybe joining the military. There was a college that came in to do sort of like a recruiting thing. Like, hey, before you go to the military, come to our school, and you could go into the military at a higher grade, get your associate's degree first. That school was the Academy of Aeronautics. So I went there, I learned electronics. One thing led to another. I wasn't sure. And then I went for my bachelor's. Wasn't sure if I wanted to continue in engineering. That's when I got my job as a biomedical engineer. I loved that for a little bit of time, got out of that, and then got into what I'm doing now. So,
What made you do that switch?
uh, I just really had a passion for finance for myself. I was, that's,
Right.
you know,
Who became your first client?
yeah. So my mom in 1987, there was a big stock market crash. And I remember my mom talking a lot about it. She commuted back and forth to the city. It was like a big deal. If you look at that crash now, it's pales in comparison to what happens on a daily basis almost on a points basis. You know what I mean? Like the Dow is down 800 points. So what? Back then, that was catastrophic. And she had friends who worked on the stock market. So that kind of piqued my interest in that. That was the first thing. And then the second thing, I started reading a lot of books about financial planning. A random walk down Wall Street. I read books by Peter Lynch because I knew having a job would not be enough,
Right.
is what I'm saying. So I was very happy at my job, but I wanted to do something with the money I was earning. I wanted to invest it. So I started educating myself on that.
Make it work for you.
And that's
Yes.
also when you became a realtor as well?
No, the realtor, see, I have this bad habit of any time I want to do something, I just go and study and take the test and become that thing
And do it yourself.
for that purpose. So with real estate, so fast forward after I'm out of school, I'm working as a biomedical engineer a couple of years. I'm with my wife now, Julie, high school sweethearts. We say, hey, we're going to get married, okay? And we wanted to buy a house. So we went around with realtors. See, back then, there was no internet, there was no Zillow, there was none of that shit.
None of that stuff.
Realtors would put you in their car and they'd show you houses, and basically you were kidnapped for the day.
Oh,
And
wow.
As soon as
They put you in their car?
they put you in their cars.
Oh, wow.
Drove you around, and then imagine you pull up to the curb and you see a house. It's like, I already know. We're not in. No, we already made an appointment, and you go in the house, and the homeowner's there, and they'd offer you something, like
What?
coffee or cookies. They have a little spread, so it was almost like you were a guest, and they were hosting
Right.
you for this showing. I was like, oh man,
That's
we
so
don't-
different than now.
Stories are way different than how
Way different now.
Yeah.
Way different now. So I said, you know what? I need a shortcut. I don't want to go on these
right.
excursions. So I said,
This whole date thing.
it was a whole day thing. It was
Yeah.
a whole thing. So I said, let me look into it. And I found out that it was not that hard to become a realtor. Now, be patient with me because I don't want anybody snapping back at me. It's very easy to become a realtor to this day. It's very
Right.
hard to make a living as a realtor.
Yes.
You really have to be a professional. So I respect what you guys do so much. I love the culture of the real estate professionals and so on. I want to help. But my point is, back to my story, I realized, you just take a class, you take a test, you pass, and I passed it on the first try. And then I went to a Century 21 office. I don't even think they have Century 21s anymore. I'm playing myself, right?
There are people from
Do
Central
they?
21, like,
All right. They were like black and red. They were the biggest realtor at the
they're
at-
black and
back
gold
then.
now,
Black
I
and
believe.
gold. Yeah, black and gold. That's what
Yeah.
it was. So, and I explained to the office manager. I says, "Listen, I'm licensed, but I'm really just looking for a house for myself." And again, being financial minded, I was like, I could cut the realtor commission out. No shade to my realtor folks. I'm the realtor, so I could do that, and I would have access to data. That was really the number one thing.
Right, because like you said, there's no Zillow or
there's
anything.
no Zillow.
So the
I
only thing
needed-
was what?
data was it?
MLS. I had access to the MLS database, which back then, and I don't know how it is now, but you could search. And I was searching people who lived in their house for 30 years or more.
He was out there.
I was really out there, or why they were selling. They used to have notes in there why people were selling. Sometimes it was, somebody died or divorced. So I figured they might be motivated. But that's how I got into real estate.
For
Only sold one house, same house I live in today, and I got
The
out
one
of
in
the business.
Smithtown?
I left it to the pros. Yes.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah.
How long ago was that again?
1995.
1995.
Thank you. Thank you, Trey. I appreciate that.
I was born in 1996. So,
Thanks for the second reminder. I appreciate that as well. Thank you, man.
is it Puerto Rican? You're Puerto Rican,
I
right?
am 100% Puerto Rican. Sadly, I don't speak the language all that well. Entiendo mucho, pero hablo un poquito.
Okay. He can get around.
I could get around. I'm
Yeah.
enough that you can't talk about me and I wouldn't know about
Right,
it.
right, right.
Yeah.
They're like, what, Lou Soriano? This guy don't speak Spanish.
Right. It's like, yeah, we could talk about it. It's like, I know. See, my wife has the opposite problem because she's very fair skinned. You
Yes, I met her.
Blonde hair. Everybody thinks she's non-Hispanic.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
full blonde.
she was born in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
You can't be any more Puerto Rican than my wife. So.
Oh, wow. So
yeah.
both of you guys are Puerto Rican.
Mhm.
But so you have 3 kids, right?
3 kids. I have my son Justin, who's 27. I have twin daughters who are 24, Lauren and Celine.
And do they speak Spanish?
They do not.
They do not. It's very hard teaching
It's
them.
hard, yeah. So when I grew up in Brooklyn, I grew up in a primarily, when I say primarily, it was like 99.999 Italian. We were like one of the few Hispanic families in the neighborhood. So yeah, I don't know if that played a role in it at all, about not speaking Spanish in the household or
I
not.
think so.
And then the same thing now with my own kids, honestly.
Yeah.
So that could be.
My kid.
No. My mannerisms are Italian. Like I identify a lot with the Italian culture.
You give off Italian vibes.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I didn't know you were Puerto Rican, I would think you were Italian.
Yeah.
this is why I say I identify Italian.
Yeah.
My joke is I didn't realize I was Puerto Rican until I was like 15 once I moved out
No.
to Brentwood. That's a joke. It's
Oh.
a joke. It's a joke. I never deny my Puerto Rican culture. I love being Puerto Rican. It is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Honestly, there was a time where that you might not have said that, back in that time. It was a very different culture in the 70s and 80s. People weren't so politically correct. I was
Right.
reminded that I was different at the time. But it's all good, I'm glad things are the way they are now.
You know some of that Italian culture.
Oh, yeah, and I love my Italian people.
Yeah.
So I do identify with that culture very much. Very similar to Hispanic culture, I might add.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
And the food is amazing.
Yes, the best.
Yeah.
What's your
I agree with that.
Oh, man. If I tell you, it's going to be so corny because I like basic stuff. So, like, if you give me a good chicken parm meal, like, I'm all in.
You can't identify as an Italian and
I
come up with that.
understand what you're saying. You're right. But New York Italian, that's how I judge. So if I go to an Italian restaurant, I usually start with basics like that.
This sounds like a New York Italian.
That's a New York Italian.
Yeah.
But I've been to Italy, and the culture there is
Right.
drastically different than New York Italian.
Yeah.
The food is
Yeah.
way better than what we experience
Yeah.
here. So you're correct.
Yeah. I haven't gone to Italy, but guys, I'm ready.
She's ready.
So
She's ready.
I
like it.
know.
Uh-huh.
Now, we have another question for you.
Okay.
What are the most overlooked tax deductions and credits for self-employed individuals? How can they maximize?
Yeah, so the number one overlooked credit, I think, for there's actually a couple that are tied, in my opinion, but the home office deduction, I find a lot of self-employed people don't realize that they can take a simplified method home office deduction, which is $5 a square foot up to 300 square feet of home office, and the room we're in now is about that size. So you could easily deduct $1,500 without really even keeping much documentation. I see that missed all the time. When you're self-employed, you're also entitled to what's called a qualified business income deduction, QBI deduction, which after you take your income, all your expenses, you're left with net income. The QBI deduction says because you're self-employed, you could take an additional 20%, just like a line item. You do the 20% of that net income, you could deduct that as well. It's like a bonus deduction for the self-employed. I find that's missed a lot. And the other is retirement plans. You guys are not, there's a lot of benefits of being employed. One of them is you have health care, you have your taxes taken care of, you have a retirement plan. You guys have none of those things, so you have to set those in place. And having a retirement plan through your business is a overlooked tax deduction. So you should set up a retirement plan through your business, not do it individually. Mm-hmm.
Now, another question. As a realtor, right? How much of income am I making, or should I be making to turn myself into an LLC?
Yeah, good question. So LLC, actually, there's no tax benefit for an LLC.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people who think that is the holy grail of entities to sort of write things off. The thing that gets overlooked a lot is an S corporation. So you should be an S corporation. That's where you can save money. you can save significant self-employment tax when you're structured as an S corporation, and if
Right.
you have net income over 50,000. That's kind of my rule of thumb. LLCs are fine to have, but they're taxed a number of different ways, and by default, they're taxed as a sole proprietor, which is what most people start off as anyway. You know, when you get your real estate license, you're a sole proprietor.
Right.
If you create an LLC, you're still taxed as a sole proprietor unless
Right.
you make an election for that LLC to be taxed as a partnership or an S corp or anything else. It's very flexible, so
Right.
you can do a lot of things with an LLC.
Would you say more protection?
Yes, primarily, and that's exactly what LLC stands for, limited liability company. So
Yeah.
that's the number one thing. And the other great thing about an LLC is it can be taxed a number of different ways. But if you're looking to save on taxes and you have over $50,000 of net income, the S corporation is the way to go.
Can you go a little bit more into the S corp for the people that don't know?
Yeah. So S corporation is a separate entity. So your business is taxed over here, and your income is paid to the S corporation. You take all your deductions under this S corporation. It's a separate tax return. So you take all your deductions there. You have limited liability in there, meaning if someone were to sue you, they could only go after the assets of the S corporation. Same is true with LLC. And then whenever you get to that bottom number, your net income, that passes through to your personal return. So you get a K-1 and a W-2 from this S corporation. You're supposed to pay yourself a salary. And then that carries over to your personal return where you report your income and pay your tax. The S corporation doesn't pay any tax. You just do all the math on that side. It's separate from you. You get to your net income or loss, and that carries over to your personal return.
Very good.
Now, I have a kid. Am I able to pay him?
Yes.
Not pay taxes?
Yeah, it's a good way, but I say be cautious with that. Like they should be of age, meaning like how old is your son now?
5.
5. A little too young. How old is your 3?
Younger.
Too young.
Yeah.
Too young. So unless you were using them in marketing, you know, like they're, you know, your logo is your son or daughter or whatever.
Okay. Thank you for the idea.
No, seriously, that is a thing, you know, or you promo with content, but realistically, the best time to have your kids like on payroll and use them for, you know, not only a deduction on the personal side, but one, there's a lot of benefits of having your kid involved in your business. One, you could pay them, that's a tax deduction, whatever you compensate them. Not only that, once they receive compensation, then they could contribute to a retirement plan at a very young age. See, the key to having a retirement plan is you have to have compensation first. So having them work through your business is one way to compensate them. Once they have that compensation, then you could pay them and they could contribute to a Roth IRA, for example. Or they could pay for their own stuff.
Right.
I curse a lot. I gotta be careful.
It's okay.
Okay.
We do too.
Okay, they can pay for their own shit. Their
Right.
school
Yeah.
clothes. I want the nicer gear. I want
Yeah.
the Jordans. I want this and that. It's like, yo, I pay you. Use your.
Right.
So that teaches them responsibility. So that's one thing. But they should be of age where they actually can do work, like, you know, whether it's helping you with social media, setting up a room like this, you know, doing some marketing for you, stuffing envelopes,
Right. All that
you know,
stuff.
whatever the case might be. So usually that age is somewhere between 10 and let's say 18. That's where you get the biggest tax benefit because when you compensate your kids, you're not required to pay Social Security. They don't have to pay the FICA taxes. Once they're over 18, they do. So there's big tax savings when you hire your kids through your business and you teach them some
Put your kids to work.
Put your kids to work. Yeah, I like that.
Just put them to work.
Yep.
And then just pay them and they can buy stuff and it feels like they getting paid, but in reality,
Right.
you're just buying them stuff.
So think about like when you have a young kid, like how much do you think you spend on your kids like a month, right? I don't know.
A lot. Especially because my son loves Target.
Right?
He loves Target to the point that all the toys that they have in Target, like I go to Target now, he can't buy anything because he owns everything pretty much that's in
Right.
Target.
But the cool thing is that will probably not change going forward.
No.
And if you pay him, right, then he has to make the choices of what to do with his
Right.
money, not like what mom's going to buy him.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Now, is there any way to write those off, like child
No,
expenses,
no,
clothing?
no. You do get a deduction. You get added deductions for having a dependent child. So, and that's why they give you some of these like child tax credits and deductions for having a dependent child, to cover some of that expenses. And if they go to daycare, they have expenses for like, again, dependent care and things like that. So there are added deductions for things like that. Yeah, but things we just buy for our kids, no, there is no deduction, which is why it is a good reason once they are of age that you pay them for those expenses that you would pay, then that would be deductible to you, and then they can buy their own stuff. So that's the way to do it.
Yeah, there you go.
See how I came full circle?
Yeah,
like that?
full circle
It just
right there.
popped in. It's like, yo, you can, but here's how you
But
do it.
let's wait 5 more years for me,
And 7 from
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
can do that.
And the right way to do it too, guys, just to be clear, is you should have like a task description of the work they do. You should have like track their hours and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be anything in depth, and you don't have to have them clock in and clock out. But if ever audited, because they do look at that kind of stuff,
Right, you have
it's
to be.
perfectly legal, but you got to do it the right way.
Now, agents are pretty much known for not being the most organized
Really?
people out there
I never heard that. This is
when
news
it comes
me.
to
Wait a minute,
taxes,
what?
right? Because
No.
when they go to
Who do
you,
you
what
know?
do they bring to you? Just 1099? Do they bring you?
I gotta tell you, I have the gamut. So I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of the top producing realtors on Long Island, and if this is any help to you guys, the ones who are doing the best are doing the best at everything.
Right.
So it's not just like they have some, they're tracking expenses. They're structured as S corporations. They're asking a lot of these great questions you guys are asking today prior to starting or as they go
Right.
along in their career. But yeah, realtors do a horrendous job of keeping track of their expense. I got to keep it real here. I can't lie to
Yeah,
you
no,
guys.
I'm saying it's really,
Yes.
especially like newer agents, I would say too, like us.
Right.
It's difficult, right?
Yeah, it is. And I know why, because listen, you're getting into a career that you have to learn very quickly. Then you're dealing with clients either on the buy side or sell side that, you're really helping them make these big decisions.
Right.
And then even after that deal closes, you don't get paid for 2 months later, more than likely, right? I don't know what the turnaround time could be, a while. So that, you're always busy thinking about your next deal, next deal, next deal. You're not thinking about your taxes and some
Right.
of these boring things. But those are the most important things, because what happens is you work with some realtors, they do okay, but because they didn't do any proper planning, then they're not in a position to pay their tax. They do extensions and payment plans. The next year, it's the same thing. It's a vicious cycle. And then they think, oh, this career isn't for me. It's not that the career isn't good for you. You just didn't do planning.
Right.
And
They
that's
didn't
why it
structure
didn't work
them.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that you didn't make enough.
Right. So what would you say? You already mentioned pay.
Yeah. Pay the easiest thing to keep track of expenses. That's why having a separate bank account is so
Right.
good, because when you look at your monthly expenses from that separate bank account, they're all business related.
Right.
And my value proposition too, to anybody watching this, if you want a copy, I have a spreadsheet just for realtors
Oh.
that really highlights all of the deductible expenses, your MLS fees, your insurance, your, podcast.
We'll have that link.
Yep. I
Yeah.
can provide that to you, and we'll have it on a link for this podcast.
Make sure you guys follow Lou. He provides a lot of great knowledge on his
Thank you.
social media, great value. I mean, if you want something else from Lou, he's always available. He's such a positive guy.
Thank you.
We loved to have Lou here for Cafecito and Real Estate. He reached out. Well, you didn't reach out to me. You saw me when we went
No,
to.
I'll tell you exactly how this went down.
No, this is how it went down. We went to.
You tell your side, I'm going to tell my
Anthony was the name of the comedian that.
side. Anthony Rodeo.
Yeah, we went to see Anthony Rodeo, thanks to Lou.
Yep.
And he goes, I see you in Cafecito and Real Estate. Now, Lou knows me prior to this version of Jessica.
That's
right
where I'm
now.
going to go with this story.
Tell the
Yeah,
version that
so
you met.
Here's the version that I had. And prior to even filming this, she goes, oh, you've done a lot of these. I said, no, but I wanted to be here with you because I saw her 2 years ago, and it was a whole different person than we are sitting here with now. Very proud of you.
Thank
I've
you.
seen that whole evolution, and I just want to be a part of your success. So
Oh, thank you.
I've enjoyed seeing that whole, path. And mind you, we've only gotten to know each other over the last few months.
Yeah, I know.
But I watch everything moving out here. You know what I'm saying?
He's
And
watching.
I'm watching. So
Thank you
I'm
for supporting,
proud of you,
Lou.
of course.
Question: How was Jessica before?
Oh God.
Jessica before. So it was hard to tell because she was always hiding her face, right? So that's first. She
And
was
I'm over
always-
here with all this
and
lighting, all this
now,
cameras.
lights, camera, action.
I don't like it.
Beautiful, right? Why?
You don't like it, but
I don't like it.
You're a natural.
Thank you, thank you. I don't think
Yes.
I'm a natural, but thank you. Appreciate
No.
it.
But that's how I remember it. And Jose, Susie, I know them very well.
Yes.
And I saw him too. He's grown like over the last couple of years. It's been
He's doing great with the team. Yeah.
yeah.
We're what, 24 now with
That
everybody?
many people. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're with a great group. Signature. I love Signature.
Yeah, we love Signature. We're here forever.
All right. That's what I like to hear.
So, one last question before we hop off.
Okay.
Now, you was mentioning something about retirement and how agents or even just self-employed people don't have
Right.
that ability because they don't have a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend me to start planning for? Like, what kind of retirement?
Yeah. So when you're self-employed, there are different plans than when you're employed or when you do so individually. So when you set up a retirement plan on your own, it's an IRA or a Roth IRA, and there's limits to how much you can contribute a year to them. Let's call it $7,000. Whereas if you have a retirement plan through your business, that's different. You could set up what's called a SEP IRA or a solo 401k. And those are two different plans, but you could contribute a lot more to those plans than you can as an individual. Or you could just, listen, you don't have to maximize how much you put away, but it's nice to know you can put much more into a plan through your business than on your individual side. So SEP IRA, solo 401k, those are the two most popular.
If they want to know more information about that, Lou, where can they find you?
You could find me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there. Lou Soriano 1, number 1. And they made me change my name. I used
Why?
to be Lou Soriano CFP.
And what happened?
The CFP board said that I can't use the designation in my handle. It's a trademark thing.
Oh.
So I says, okay. So I had to change it to Lou Soriano 1. I'm not that creative. So
But Lou Soriano one, the one and only.
the one and only, right?
That's
yeah.
it.
So Lou Soriano
It's
1.
very suiting for you.
Yes. And I have all my contact info on there. So you can
Yeah.
find me there.
Thank you so much, Lou. It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you guys for having me. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is valuable. Please don't forget to hit that like, hit that follow.
And follow Lou.
So when the next video's up, all the good stuff. I don't gotta tell you that. But shout out to Lou for being here, for taking his time out of his busy day to spend some time with us at Cafecito and Real Estate. Lou, once
Muchas
again, thank you
gracias.
so much.
Thank
Gracias,
you.
gracias. Flor.